Maya and maybe actually this about 12 minutes. Yes. So one class. So because it's money.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Boy, you got an extra toe.
So.
Do you know the song? The next song? Probably not. We have a sheet. We sing this song in invoking. Two. Yeah. You may know. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. You know the song. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. James Pad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Marcy, are we in text 25? You forget.
Yeah, it's like 3 more.
3 more, there's 3 left, right? Well, that would make it 26 then. Well, I know we did 20. 25 looks right, huh? I think so, okay.
28.
28?
Yeah.
You think so?
Is that text 20?
28.
Well, we got to decide what it is. Let me see. I didn't say, huh? All right. All right. Anyway, this short purpose here. We'll finish the chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 30th day of October 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Chapter 8 entitled Attaining the Supreme, text 25, page 368. Dumo Ratristata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Sanjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate Dumo Ratristata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Sanjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate Dumo Ratristata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Sanjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Dumo Ratristata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Samjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Dumo Ratristata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Sanjyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Anyone else want to try? Okay. Dumaha smoke, Ratrihi night, Tata also, Krishnaha the fortnight of the dark moon, Shat Masa the 6 months, Dakshina Ayanam when the sun passes on the southern side, Tatra there, Chandramasam the moon planet, Jyotihi the light, Yogi the mystic, Prapya achieving, Nivartate comes back. The mystic who passes away from this world during, Translation. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet but again comes back. Purport. In the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Muni mentions that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. These elevated souls live on the moon for about 10,000 years by the demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking soma ras. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, or the disciplic succession. So this chapter deals with the beginning of the chapter deals with some very important information, describing how whatever we think about at the time of death, that will determine our next life. The assumption is that we've read through the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. We understand that the soul is eternal and the body is temporary, which means that there is transmigration. And the whole question of human life is, well, what is our destination going to be? What is our destiny? It's in our hands. And so this chapter very succinctly describes it near the beginning. It says that Antakali chamameva smuran mukva kalevaram yakpriyati samadbhavam yasti nachatur sankshaya. Krishna says there, if at the time of death, Antakali means the end point for this body. If one can remember me, says Krishna, then he'll certainly come to me. There's no doubt about it. On the other hand, yang vapi smarang bhavap jajat jante kalevaram tantameva dikonti yasadata bhava bhavita. This is the general principle. Whatever one is the dominant thought at that time. Yang means whatever. Vapi smaram bhavam, the most prominent thought that you remember, that will determine your next body. And therefore, Krishna says, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmana yujita mayarpatamano buddhi mamay vaishishya sankshi. I read this one last night too. He says, therefore, Krishna says, in all places and all times, think of me and perform your duty of fighting. Arjun's a warrior, and his whole idea was to leave the battlefield because he didn't want to kill his beloved relatives and his friends and his grandfather and teacher. So Krishna says, you have to perform that duty for me, and at the same time remember me, and then with your mind thinking of me, your intelligence dedicated to me, you'll certainly come to me. Those three verses kind of sum up the essence of the Gita. Now, then Krishna begins to talk about the yoga process. It's kind of a throwback to chapter 6. He even talks about meditation and fixing the mind and so forth. He describes the spiritual world as a place that's not destroyed when this whole universe is ultimately destroyed. That place remains as it is. And now he's describing, after all of that, he says, text 14 and 15, Ananya chetak satatam yoman smanadi nityashat. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. And then he has a very important verse where he says, Mamu petya punar janma dukali mashashvatam. This is 15. Naptovanti mahatmana sangsiddhim paramangata. The one who comes to me never has to return to this world, which is dukali mashashvatam. It's worth remembering, I don't say memorize, but remembering this phrase. Dukali means an abode of misery, and shashvata means temporary. That's the nature of this world. Although, yes, there are some things that are pleasurable for a short time, but that just, Krishna says, and Prabhupada says in his commentary, that little pleasure you experience of sense gratification is your worst enemy. It's your worst enemy. Because it induces you to keep coming back to try to enjoy and stay imprisoned in this material world. This material world is not our home. Prabhupada said hundreds of times, go back home, back to Godhead. You know, we came from there. Isn't that what the Christians teach? The Garden of Eden, and we have our Vaikuntha, the place beyond all anxiety. What's the anxiety here? I may be okay now, but what's going to happen tomorrow? That's an anxiety, right? There's always something threatening, and there's several strategies you can adopt. One is to try to defend yourself in various ways from the implications of the material world, and the other is forget about it, right? Just go into oblivion. The old ostrich head in the sand program, which we do also. You know, all the things that we get distracted from in this world, the entertainment and all this, helps us to forget that we're mortal, that we're heading toward who knows what. But the Vedic teachings is meant to, no, we have to face reality and deal with it. And there is a strategy of dealing with it where you can actually overcome death. We have this little book, Beyond Birth and Death. Beyond Birth and Death. It's a compilation of various lectures that Srila Prabhupada gave. He dealt with the same theme again and again. Because in the West especially, the first step is to impress people for the need for spiritual life, for the need for self-realization. It's not just a hobby, it's not just something that you can take or to leave it. If you leave it, then you're condemning yourself to, long prison sentence in this material world. If you take it, there's a chance you can succeed and achieve the goal of human life. It's like the most deep and profound questions of existence are being, dealt with here. So this verse is very important. Prabhupada quoted it all the time. If one attains to that world, if one comes to me, doesn't have to take birth here again. And then Krishna starts discussing this material world from Brahma's realm, which he's the chief demigod. He lives unbelievable long time on his planet, all the way down to the little ants world. They live a few days, if that. It's all a place of return. Punar avartanojana means birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. But one who attains to me doesn't take birth again. He reiterates it. Then he mentioned Brahma, so he starts talking about these incredible lengths of time. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. Yuga here means a cycle of 4 millenniums. The perspective is this. We live in what is known as Kali Yuga. Yuga meaning, a millennium is generally 1,000 years, but let's call it an age. It's an age that's like the winter time. In other words, we have these 4 seasons. We're coming up now on winter, after we were in the middle of fall, right, or autumn. And then it's going to be a winter. And that means it's cold and it's not very favored by people. You kind of hunker down, try to survive it, right? Here it's SanDiego, it's no big deal. But you come out of it, and then there's spring, flower-bearing spring, new life, right? And then summer, now let's have some fun, go to the beach. Right? But then, sure enough, the fall's coming, autumn's coming, gets colder, start to. So it's like that on a macro level too. We have these 4 yugas or ages called Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, and they keep going round and round and round. Satya means the age of truth, the age of goodness. People live a lot longer, and everybody's a Brahmin, everybody's a yogi. Can you imagine living in a place where people are actually by nature kind and empathetic and self-controlled and pure and all of that? Simple life, But by the force of material energy, gradually the mode of passion comes in. And Treta Yuga, people live less long, and there's more. And so for each age, there's a different kind of dharma that we practice for self-realization that's most prominent. In the Satya Yuga, everybody was yogi, they all meditated. Sometimes, believe it or not, for thousands of years. And they achieved perfection, love of God. In the Treta Yuga, a little more restless, so they had these massive sacrifices. Can you imagine like 1,000 Brahmins sitting and chanting these mantras? We're trying our best to chant the mantras here, But they're chanting with exact accent. They even have a whole bunch of other Brahmins who are referees on the Brahmins who are chanting. If one of them makes a mistake, they stop him, and they correct it. I don't know if you know that. There's a whole science to this sacrifice, elaborate sacrifice. Ghee, pouring in so much ghee into the fire going on everywhere, So that's the dharma of the Treta Yuga. It's called the Yuga Dharma, elaborate sacrifices. In the Dwapara Yuga, the mode of passion and ignorance becomes more prominent. People don't live as long. So they have elaborate deity worship. We have a little taste of it here. But you imagine, huge temples with perfect grounds and gardens and everywhere, and the highly trained Brahmin priests, and the deities, they actually have real gold and diamonds and silks and everything, very elaborate. And you can imagine how attractive that would be, to come and see the deity and hear the accounts of from the Shastra. But in this age, this is Kali Yuga. Kali means quarrel, struggle. In the families, between the states, between the nations, everybody is fighting, or planning to fight, or trying to recover from the last fight. So this is Kali Yuga. It's not very good, certainly not good for meditation. Nobody can practice the elaborate sacrifices. Where are the trained Brahmins? Where's the barrels of ghee? It's not possible. And even the deity worship, there's some remnants of it you'll find in South India. Very beautiful, big temples, very old, 1,000 years old. But that's not the dharma of the age either. We have that here, but it's not the main dharma. But in this age, what is the Yuga Dharma? Damodar. Yes, chanting the holy name. In the Bhagavatam, it says in the 12th canto, Kute yadhyayato vishnum, tretayam yajatomakai, dvapare parichayayam, kalau tad hadikirtanat. what one could achieve in the Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga through meditation, in the Treta Yuga through elaborate sacrifices, in the Dwapara Yuga through elaborate deity worship, one can achieve the same result in this age by congregational chanting of the holy name. So everything rests on that. When we, of course, we have the Bhagavad Gita, we have the Shastra, we have deity worship, but really, to make substantial advancement and achieve success, we have to take wholeheartedly to the chanting, both in congregation as well as individually. So, now, he talks about the age of Brahma and how we're being born and dying again and again, helplessly. And then he says a few words about the spiritual world. Besides the manifestation and unmanifestation of the material world, there is another invisible world that is not, that is steady, that doesn't come out of existence. Padastasmat bhavanu, this is text 20. There is another unmanifest nature which is eternal, transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. That which is the Vedantas describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. So that's Krishna's place. Coming back home means to him. Yes? I'm sorry, I'm going to say 364 near the bottom, text 21. I was just reading, yeah. So, he's attained, again he brings in the point, that supreme person, Krishna is speaking in the third person now, that's him that he's speaking about, can be attained by bhakti, only by developing pure unalloyed devotion. And that's why this institution is teaching pure bhakti yoga. Okay. And then, starting 23, he starts this last section that we've been reading about different times of departing. Now this is kind of a little coda, because he's talking about those who are not pure devotees, but are yogis, advanced yogis. You can be a yogi and self-controlled, but then it depends what time you leave the body, as to whether you achieve liberation or not. And even then, you're not going back to Godhead. It's a kind of an intermediate situation. So he went through that at 23, 24, and we just read 25. These are different times. And let's go on and read 26 and 27, and then we'll finish the chapter in 28. Okay? So, any comments on this? I just reviewed the chapter. We won't need to review it again. Text 26. Shukla Krishna Gati Vete Jagatak Shasvate Mate Ekaya Yatyana Vrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns. Purport: the same description of departure and return is quoted by Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan from the Chandogya Upanishad 5.10-3-5. Those who are fruitive laborers and philosophical speculators from time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. So that's the bottom line. Continuing. Naite suti parta janan yogi muyati kashyana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjana. Okay. Although the devotees know of these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. So this whole idea of when to pass is not so pertinent to the devotees. That's the idea here. Purport: Krishna is here advising Arjuna that he should not be disturbed by the different paths the soul can take when leaving the material world. A devotee of the Supreme Lord should not worry whether he will depart by arrangement or by accident. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna. He should know that concern over either of these two paths is troublesome. The best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, and this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. The word yoga yukta is especially significant in this verse. One who is firm in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, Anasaktasya vishayan yataham upayunjataha. One should be unattached in material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called Yukta Vairagya, one attains perfection. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these descriptions because he knows that his passage to the Supreme Abode is guaranteed by devotional service. So this is kind of resolves the whole last few verses. It doesn't really matter. If we are able to cultivate our Krishna consciousness so that we can have constant remembrance of Krishna, then we're ready. And that's actually what we need to be. No, nothing is certain in this world, especially in Kali Yuga. Who knows what's going to happen? Right now, in the next 10 minutes, there can be an earthquake. There could be an earthquake. I remember when I first came here, the first thing I did is look at the mapping of the faults, and I was very relieved to see that San Andreas Fault was passed somewhat to the east of SanDiego. But now, last month, they found some new faults. Did you read about that? It comes right on from La Jolla, like about 3 blocks east of here. There's no safe place. There's no safe place in this world. There's no place. In the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse about taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Oh, I'm sorry, we're on page 370. And this is King Parikshit. He hears from Shukadeva Goswami, who's the main speaker of the Bhagavad Purana. Bhagavatam. There he says, Samashita ye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho marare Bhavambudi vatsapadam padam yadvipadham natesham. Very poetic verse. So there he's saying that one who takes full shelter, samashrita, means full shelter, of the lotus feet of Krishna, means that always thinking about, always serving, and being a devotee. That's full shelter. Then the Mahatpadam Punya Yasho Murari. So it's the lotus feet of Murari. It's another name for Krishna, meaning the enemy of the demon named Mura. This is the last time we read, eventually when we read Krishna book. So what are those, who is that Krishna, Murari? He is Mahatpadam. He is the place where the entire Mahatattva rests. In other words, the whole material world is resting on him. And it's also whose feet all the Mahatmas go to. That word has a double meaning, Mahatpadam. Punya Yasha. Punya Yasha means just by hearing and chanting his glories, one attains untold piety. You don't know how it's happening, but it's happening. So what's the result of taking shelter? It's like a boat. Like a boat. And we want to cross this ocean of birth and death. It's very vast and very dangerous. But he says it shrinks down to the amount of water that can be contained in the hoof print of a calf. Not even a cow, but a calf, a little mini calf. You don't even need a boat. You can walk across it. You see? Mahatpadam, Bhavambudir Vatsapadam. Bhavambudir means the ocean of birth and death shrinks down to the water in the hoof print of calf. Bhavambudir Vatsapadam. Parampadam, one has attained the supreme abode by taking shelter. And then the last line, not this place is for them, which is padam padam yad vipadam, where there is danger at every step. At every step there's danger. The greatest danger here is to forget Krishna. That's a great danger, and people don't even know it. There's one verse about the chanting of the holy name. I'll give you this verse. Ho dukkam, aho dukkam, dukkha tadam yata, kachatam visvatam ratna harinama kevalam. So it means that, alas what sorrow, oh what sorrow, oh what great calamity, for people to forget the holy name of Shri Hari. Hari is Krishna. Although the name's a priceless gem, mere broken glass they see, the holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. So, in this age, as I mentioned, the Dharma of the age, the Yuga Dharma, is chanting the holy name of Krishna, or Hari. So, but who's doing that? A relative minuscule number. We may be 100,000 strong in ISKCON, and there may be millions of others, but there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. And the vast, vast, vast majority are not chanting the holy name. Even the millions of people who have heard about us, and heard about how important it is, they're also not chanting. That means that they can't understand the need for it, they don't understand the urgency of it. But there truly is danger at every step here. So how to be secure and safe in that danger, amidst this dangerous position, and one of the side benefits is to be free of anxiety. Even in this world you can be free of anxiety. Vaikuntha is not just a place far, far away. It can also be right here, right in this temple. Vaikuntha is a place where everybody's thinking of Krishna, glorifying Krishna, loves Krishna, serving Krishna, and everything about the place reminds you of Krishna. That's what the temple is supposed to be. So, the devotees know of these paths, but they don't worry about it. Because no matter when or if or how you leave your body, if you're thinking of Krishna, that's auspicious. And you leave it all behind and don't come back. That's the goal. Going back to Godhead. Okay, so this 28th verse actually wraps it all up very nicely. And we'll get ready tomorrow to start chapter 9, which is kind of one of the most essential chapters. Chapter 9. Invite all your friends. We should have at least 50 people there tomorrow night. Chapter 9. And this, I'm telling you, the whole purport of the text too is an essay in itself. Prabhupada wrote this separately as an essay. This whole purport of the chapter. You can see how long it is. All right, but first we're going to finish chapter 8. Text 28. Vedeshu yaggeshu tapaksu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tatsavamidam viditva yogi padam sthanam upayati chadhyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Purport. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, not just the 8th chapter, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. But by carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, household life, vanaprastha, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti, or in the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishna Loka. That is the path outlined by Vedic literatures. But don't worry, Prabhupada, he encourages us in the next paragraph. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam viditva in this verse, 28, indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One who has a little faith in the Bhagavad Gita should learn the Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter it is stated clearly that the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. And just a note, we're reading Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada uses the word purpose to mean purport often, and this is one of those instances. And if you look it up in the Oxford Dictionary, not the Western English, but in the Oxford English, you'll find that that's one of the meanings of purpose, is purport also. So that's what the meaning is here. But we're not going to change the word, but just to let you know. One can perfectly understand the purpose or purport of the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn the Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand the Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotional service. And this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God, and Krishna's activities, form, his pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of the Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of attaining the Supreme. So just a few words and then we'll read the Krishna book. Vedeshu, in the study of the Vedas. Now the Vedas Prabhupada would sometimes use that broadly, sometimes narrowly. Vedas basically means in its strictest sense the 4 Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajna, Atharva. It also includes the Upanishads. And then you have other Vedic literatures on that level, like the Vedanta Sutra, which are these aphoristic sutras which condense the philosophy all in a very compact form. And then other Vedic literatures include the Puranas. The Puranas are histories. The Vedas don't have that. The Upanishads, you're not going to read much history there. But in the Bhagavad Purana, there's all kinds of histories. The history of the universe, the creation, it's given several places in the Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but the Puranas, there's 18 main Puranas, and they're actually written and geared toward people in different modes of nature. Modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. But above them all is the Bhagavad Purana, which was written last. It's known as the ripened fruit of the tree of all the Vedic literatures, is Bhagavad Purana. So, when Prabhupada talks about studying the Vedas, or Krishna talks about studying the Vedas, it's not just the 4 Vedas, but it's all of this Vedic literature. So, if you actually take up the path of devotional service, you enjoy the benefits of studying the Vedas, performing these different sacrifices, whatever austerities you may perform, charity. All of this is actually, you get the essence of it by devotional service. You don't lose out in anything. This is one of the important points. You don't have to think. Real faith in God, in Krishna, means that you have full conviction that just by performing devotional service, just by doing the routine that we put, all of your aspirations will be fulfilled. It's not that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I do my bhakti. And Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday I do my karma kanda. And on Sunday I rest or whatever. No, it's not like that. It's like all the time. It's like 24 hours. And the wonderful thing about it is it becomes more and more enlivening. It's that you realize that your full measure of pleasure from the soul is available in Krishna consciousness. And you lose your taste for all of the lower things, which I mentioned at the beginning, is your worst enemy. The pleasure you get from non-Krishna conscious things, that's what keeps you tied here. And that's what also gives you the idea where you can take it easy. It's a gradual process, you know. And there's no urgency, but there's a great urgency, because as we mentioned, at any time, this is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's padam padam yad vipadam. At every step there's danger. So you have to take that seriously. So this is a wonderful wind-up verse. Prabhupada says it winds up 2 chapters, that you don't miss out on any of the results of all these wonderful activities of austerity and study and charity, but you go to the supreme abode. He attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, is by one stroke all of your aspirations are satisfied. And that's what we need. Otherwise we'll keep coming back thinking we missed something. But we actually don't miss anything. Okay, any questions on this chapter or this verse, these 2 chapters? There's a lot here in the 7th and 8th chapter. It's worth reviewing them again and again. And tomorrow we'll begin the glorious 9th chapter. There will be no confusion about which verse we're on tomorrow. Believe me, the 9th chapter is essential. It sums up everything. Okay. Now, let's see where we are in Krishna book. Just to let you know, Prabhu, because you may not be familiar with the Krishna book. Krishna book, as I mentioned, the Bhagavad Purana, this is like we have the multi-volume work called the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the essence of it is this 10th canto, which describes Krishna's activities when he came to earth about 5,000 years ago. And this book, Krishna book, we call it Krishna book, it's really formally Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's the title of the book, is Srila Prabhupada's translation of that whole 10th canto with interspersed comments. So that's what we call Krishna book, and we've been reading it systematically. And where are we now, though? That's the question. All right, we'll find out. Okay. I've got several readings going on at the same time. Okay. I think we're in the introduction to the rasa dance, aren't we? Yes. Okay, let's go there. Yeah, there's the rasa dance, which is very appropriate. This is the Kartik month, and at the end of the month, the rasa dance comes, right? At the last day, practically, which is coming up real soon. So this is very pertinent. So we've already read some of this introduction, and basically Prabhupada spends a lot of this time explaining how the rasa dance is not an ordinary dance between boyfriend and girlfriends. You know, it may look like that to some degree, but it's the highest expression of love for God, or Krishna. It's really the essence of the essence. So I'll continue with our reading here. As mentioned above, it appears that Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis when he was 8 years old. Now, he's a little precocious, so he's like 14, 15, you know, but he's 8 years old. At that time, many of the gopis were married, because in India, especially in those days, girls were married at a very early age. There were even many instances of a girl's giving birth to a child at the age of 12. Under the circumstances, all the gopis who wanted to have Krishna as their husband were already married. At the same time, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. You can see it's not ordinary, situation. Their attitude toward Krishna was that of a paramour love. Therefore, the loving affairs of Krishna with the gopis are called parakiya ras. Parakiya means paramour. The attitude of a married man who desires another wife, or a wife who desires another husband, is called parakiya ras. Actually, Krishna is the husband of everyone, because he is the supreme enjoyer. The gopis wanted Krishna to be their husband, but factually, there was no possibility of his marrying all the gopis. But because they had that natural tendency to accept Krishna as their supreme husband, the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called parakiya ras. This parakiya ras is ever existent in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky, where there is no possibility of the inebriety which characterizes Parakya Ras in the material world. Prabhupada redefined this word, inebriety, which basically means drunkenness in the dictionary. Means negativity, bad reactions, no good stuff. Inebriety. But there's no possibility of that inebriety in the spiritual sky. In the material world, Parakya Ras is abominable, whereas in the spiritual world it is present in the super excellent relationship of Krishna and the gopis. There are many relationships with Krishna, master and servant, friend and friend, parent and son, and lover and beloved. Out of all these rasas, the Parakya Ras is considered to be the topmost. Now, one thing Prabhupada meant in the, said in the earlier part of this introduction, he described who these gopis actually are. There's actually 4 categories of gopis when Krishna does the rasa dance in this planet. The first category are his eternal associates who he brings with him when he comes. These are all, perfected devotees at the highest level. Another category is devotees on this planet Earth who are graduating to that platform after cultivating bhakti. Another category are the great sages in Dandakaranya forest. When Ram and Sita and Lakshman, they wandered in the forest, they were exiled. Ram was exiled, they went through this. So in this forest, there were a lot of sages meditating. And they saw Ram, and they wanted to, he was very beautiful and attractive, they wanted to enjoy this conjugal rasa with him. And they said, not in this birth. I have one wife here. Krishna has so many wives and girlfriends, right? You have to take birth as gopis when I appear as Krishna, then you can have it. And so that's that category. And the fourth category are the personified Vedas, who exist even before the universe is created, and they come in chapter 87. And, super intelligent. They offer these incredible prayers. And some of them wanted to have this relation with Krishna and said, okay, you can come and take birth in Braj and as gopis. So these are not ordinary young girls here. These are special. So that's when you remember that. All right, Parakya is the topmost rasa. This material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It is just like the reflection of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The topmost part of the tree is seen as the lowest part. Similarly, Parakya Ras, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is most abominable. So all of this illicit sex relationship is the worst thing. But because it's the worst here, but it's the best there. So that's the idea. The topmost part is similarly Parakya Ras, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is abominable. Therefore, when people imitate the rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis, they simply enjoy the perverted, abominable reflection of the transcendental Parakya Ras. There is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental Parakya Ras within the material world. It's stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not imitate this Parakya Ras even in dreams or imagination. Those who do so drink the most deadly poison. So you can see this, it's exactly 180 degrees difference. That's the idea. When Krishna, the Supreme Enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the gopis on that full moon night of the Sharad season, which is coming up in a few days. Oh, that was... So the first one, it began. But there's another rasa dance. Okay. We had that already. When Krishna, the Supreme Enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the gopis on that full moon night of the Sharad season, exactly at that very moment, the moon, the lord of the stars, appeared in the sky, displaying its most beautiful features. The full moon night of the Sharad season is the most beautiful night of the year. In the Indian city of Agra in Uttar Pradesh, there is a great monument called the Taj Mahal, which is a tomb made of first-class marble stone. If anyone knows anything about India, they know the Taj Mahal, right? They've heard of the Taj Mahal. It's very famous. During the night of the full moon of the Sharad season, many foreigners go to see the beautiful reflections of the moon on the tomb. Thus, this full moon night is celebrated even today for its beauty. When the full moon rose in the east, it tinged everything with a reddish color. With the rising of the moon, the whole sky appeared smeared by red kumkum. When the husband, long separated from his wife, returns home, he decorates the face of his wife with red kumkum. This long-expected moonrise of the Sharad season was thus smearing the eastern sky. The appearance of the moon increased Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. The forests were filled with fragrant flowers. The atmosphere was cooling and festive. When Lord Krishna began to blow his flute, the gopis all over Vrindavan became enchanted. Their attraction to the vibration of the flute increased 1,000 times during the rising full moon, the red horizon, the calm and cool atmosphere, and the blossoming flowers. All the gopis were by nature very much attracted to Krishna's beauty, and when they heard the vibration of his flute, they became apparently lustful to satisfy the senses of Krishna. Immediately upon hearing the vibration of the flute, they all left their respective engagements and proceeded to the spot where Krishna was standing. While they ran very swiftly, their earrings swung back and forth. They all rushed toward the place known as Vangshivat. Some of them were engaged in milking cows, but they left their milking business half finished and immediately went to Krishna. One of them had just collected milk and put it on a milk pan on the stove to boil, but she did not care whether the milk overboiled and spilled. She immediately left to go see Krishna. Some of them were breastfeeding their small babies, and some were engaged in distributing food to the members of their families. But they left all such engagements and immediately rushed toward the spot where Krishna was playing his flute. Some were engaged in serving their husbands, and some were themselves engaged in eating. But caring neither to serve their husbands nor eat, they immediately left. Some of them wanted to decorate their faces with cosmetic ointments and to dress themselves very nicely before going to Krishna. But unfortunately, they could not finish their cosmetic decorations or put on their clothes in the right way because of their anxiety to meet Krishna immediately. Their faces were decorated hurriedly and were haphazardly finished. Some even put the lower part of their clothes on the upper part of their bodies and the upper part on the lower part. Hare Krishna. So, there's one nice verse composed by Rupa Goswami describing one gopi speaking to another about this idea. Smeran bangi tvayapata chatam sachi vistir nadrishting vangshi nistada kishalayam ujjalam chandrakena govindakim hatitan matak keshi tirto pakande maaprekshista stabayadisake bandhusange stiranga. My dear friend, one gopi says to another, if you want to enjoy family life, then don't go to see Govinda, who's standing there in Vangshivat or Keshigat with the full moon playing on his beautiful lips, and he's playing that flute, and he's smiling very nicely, smearing Bungi, and is standing in threefold bending form, his eyes askance. Try about the Sachi Vistir Nadrishti. Look at it. He is Govinda. Haritanam is actually Hari. If you want to enjoy family life, don't go, because the idea is you'll lose your taste for family life. It'll spoil your family life. So by saying don't go, they should actually say you should go. So that's more or less the scene here. While all the gopis were hurriedly leaving their respective places, their husbands, brothers, and fathers were all struck with wonder to know where they were going. Indian ladies don't go out in the middle of the night. Being young girls, they were protected either by husbands, elder brothers, or fathers, or several of these. All their guardians forbade them to go see Krishna, but they disregarded them. When a person becomes attracted by Krishna and is in full Krishna consciousness, he doesn't care for any worldly duties, even though very urgent. Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. Srila Rupa Goswami, I swear, I had forgotten that this was here. He's now going to give the translation to this verse I just chanted. Srila Rupa Goswami has written a very nice verse wherein one gopi advises another. My dear friend, if you desire to enjoy the company of material society, friendship, and love, then please do not go to see this smiling boy Govinda, who is standing on the bank of the Yamuna and playing his flute, his lips brightened by the beams of the full moonlight. That's the verse. Srila Rupa Goswami indirectly instructs the one who has been captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Krishna has lost all attraction for material enjoyments. This is the test of advancement in Krishna consciousness. A person advancing in Krishna consciousness must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. Some of the gopis were factually detained from going to Krishna by their husbands and were locked up by force within their rooms. Being unable to go to Krishna, they began to meditate upon his transcendental form by closing their eyes. They already had the form of Krishna within their minds. They proved to be the greatest yogis, As is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, a person who is constantly thinking of Krishna within his heart with faith and love is considered to be the topmost of all yogis. That's the end of the 6th chapter. Actually, a yogi concentrates his mind on the form of Lord Vishnu. That is real yoga. Krishna is the original form of all Vishnu tattvas. The gopis could not go to Krishna personally, so they began to meditate on him as perfect yogis. So we'll pick up that exciting scene tomorrow. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari. Okay, now if you'll kindly pick up your mats and your books and your stands, and we'll get ready for Arti.
Okay, this side. Now, don't forget, we're going to light a lamp and offer a lamp with one of these little wicks, because we're almost over, so let's take advantage. What about tomorrow? ISKCON DVD founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Prabhupada Paramahansa Bhagavad Acharya Astotra Shishima His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Thank you, Lord Krishna Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Radha Gaur, Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyaman Radhakun, Giri Bhagavad Radha ki jai. Naya Program ki jai. Jagannath Puridas ki jai. Ganga ki jai. Yamuna ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Distribution ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Someday Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glory to the Son of the Lord. All glory to the Son of the Lord. All glory to the Son of the Lord. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Balarama Rayine. Balarama Rayine. Hiranyakashiko Chama. Hiranyakashiko
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Pranapatau Premamrita Vanidhi Veera Dhira Jana Tau Krishna Kirtana Ganana Nartana Prabhu Premamritam Vanidhi Veera Veera Jana Priya Priya Karo Nemataram Pujito Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bhara Vahan Tarak Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Sri Jiva Gopalaka Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Sri Bhagavadgita Krishna Kirtana Gana Kirtana Gana Nattana Paramu Prema Metamani Veera Veera Jana Priya Priya Karo Nirma Pujitam Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bharava Antarakau Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Sri Bhagavadgita Vicharanai Kamipuna Sadharma Samasthapaku Lokanam Hitakarinam Tribhuvane Mannam Sarana Karo